Good morning. That strawberry crater behind me, one of many volcanic cinder cones that dot this area. And it looks like a good spot to discuss today's anime eruption.
Just as soon as I get to the top, we'll take a look at Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann is a recent TV series from the storied Gainax studio. Gainax's reputation still commands my attention, and besides, there was ample hype, so I picked up Bandai's early, subtitled-only DVD release. Later, I checked out some of the dub on the US Sci-Fi Channel run. I wasn't planning on discussing it at the time, but here we are, on the lip of Strawberry Crater, looking down at the caldera, because that's just the way Team Gurren rolls. I've rewatched the whole series especially for this occasion. Gurren Lagann opens with a space battle on a spaceship that looks more like a battleship. The hero standing out on the deck, cape and flag, somehow flapping in the vacuum of space. This hint of what was to come 10 hours later so reminded me of Captain Harlock that I was eager to come aboard for the trip. Then we get down to the story, literally into an underground village. It seems mankind now lives in caverns beneath the earth, where the surface and the sky are only myths, and above them is only ceiling. This setting struck me as interesting and unique, but I needn't have invested in it because it got quickly left behind. Simon is a digger, a young man who works to expand the underground village by digging through stone and dirt with his drill. Others here dig to live, but only Simon loves it so much he lives to dig. He's a subterranean geek, of course, and the girls all make fun of him. Kamina is Simon's older friend, a village nonconformist and troublemaker who overflows with manly enthusiasm for his causes. Kamina especially wants to get up to the surface, which he's sure exists because his father went there, and he sees Simon's drill as the means to pierce the heavens. It's hard to describe Kamina without bombast. He's full of inspiring slogans, yelled at the top of his lungs, and he's dubbed his small circle of followers Team Gurren. In the space of a few fateful hours, Simon makes a couple of interesting discoveries. First, he digs up a tiny drill that he decides to wear as a pendant. Next, he digs up a large metallic head. Before he can show these finds to Kamina, there's an earthquake, and a giant robot falls through the ceiling and crashes into their village, threatening destruction. That's quickly followed by Yoko, a buxom, scantily clad young woman with a very big rifle who really knows how to make an entrance. She seems to be fighting back against the robot. Almost immediately, Simon sees the similarity between the attacking robot and the metallic head he found, and he just as quickly discovers that that miniaturized drill he wears as a pendant is the key to operate it and fight off the oncoming mecha. And with Kamina's indomitable fighting spirit urging him on, Simon does so, adapting the head into a drill in an enviable feat of improvised engineering flexibility. Soon, Simon, Kamina, and Yoko are up on the legendary surface, fighting for their lives against some wacky-looking mecha.
いつまで逃げる気だ、シモン。せっかく上に出たんだ。今までのお前を捨てるなら今だ。
しっかり操縦しててよ、シモン。
It turns out Yoko is from a neighboring village that's trying to live on the wasteland-like surface. To do so, they have to fight off the beastmen who pilot these giant mecha called gunmen. It seems the beastmen, human suppression force, is determined to keep mankind down, literally. Using Simon's newfound mechanical head, dubbed Lagann, and Kamina's fighting spirit, they capture an enemy gunman and storm off together across the surface to take on the beastmen in their lair. Kamina dubs their revolutionary band Team Gurren, and they gather more characters as they go along. I'll specifically mention Rocio as a character because he's going to be important later on. He comes from yet another underground village where he was the acolyte to the current village leader. Notably, that village imposed strict population control to conserve its limited resources. Rocio decides to accompany 2 orphans who were expelled from the village to reduce the head count, and he ends up traveling with Team Gurren. This is a classic heroic shonen anime with the young man, Simon, discovering his hidden power to pilot the Lagann with his spiral energy. At first, he's unsure of his abilities, but he's coached to improve, tempers his mettle in failure and self-doubt, only to emerge stronger each time and ready to face a new, more powerful foe with more determination. The anime is freely over-the-top, enthusiastic in combat, and it throws in plenty of comedy and lovely women, making room for both a hot springs and a beach episode, and, as the promo insistently brags, that famous Gainax bounce. Who knew that with the surface abandoned so long ago, everyone would still pack a swimsuit? And, seriously, just how much more of Yoko could you expose? The art is very angular and deceptively simplistic, combining fooly-cooly with dead leaves. The mecha designs are purposely wacky, too. I didn't find any of this aesthetically pleasing, but its primitive style fits well with the anime's high-energy propulsion. As for the music, it is loud. I'll just say it's not my style, and I won't be buying the soundtrack CD. Through the first half, Gurren Lagann is a good, but I didn't think exceptional anime action-adventure. The repeated battles with the Beastmen, their gunmen, and their battle cruisers were becoming tiring. But a little past the midway point, all that changes dramatically, and in my opinion, for the better. I'm going to try to tiptoe around the details, but there may be some minor spoilers ahead. Episode 16 is a compilation episode that recaps the series so far. By the way, I enjoyed the next episode promo for that compilation since, like the series itself, it was so unapologetically enthusiastic about an upcoming recap. In ancient Rome, when a victorious general returned, he paraded through the city in a chariot covered with laurels to receive the cheers of the crowd. But a slave would walk behind him, whispering quietly in his ear the warning, "Sic transit gloria mundi." Gurren Lagann now embraces the fecklessness of public adoration. Starting with episode 17, Gurren Lagann becomes almost like a sequel rather than just another episode. It jumps 7 years into the future, and a lot has changed, including the nature of the story. Everyone's grown up, of course. There's a growing civilization to run, and Simon, the great battle hero, may not be the best one suited to manage the minutiae of government. It's Rocio who steps into the vacuum to run the bureaucracy. Yoko runs off to a monastery. I mean, she becomes a schoolteacher. Don't worry, her breasts still bounce. Other old members of Team Gurren have gone their own way too. Some have married, and some have even started families. When things start going wrong, there are conflicts. Simon, like his older bro Kamina, has become a man of straightforward action, facing problems head-on, making his own decisions, and taking responsibility. Rocio structures his world around rules and regulations. Simon believes no one gets left behind. Rocio is compromising, coldly calculating the best odds. Suddenly the world isn't black and white anymore. It's full of moral ambiguity. Old allegiances crack. Past enemies become allies, and old friends become opponents.
今のこの国は法治国家です。神の掟に今度は法律か。よくよく縛られるのが好きな男だな。お前の目、あん時のアダイ村の司祭と同じ目をしているぜ。
I thought episodes 17 through 23 hit every note perfectly. Well, except for the literal musical notes, which were still kind of discordant to my old ears. There's a splendidly orchestrated escalation of the conflict, with grand heroic moments, a few laughs, and everyone steps back into the spotlight at exactly the right moment. It cashes in on every character, every background, every memory, every slogan, transforming into a totally over-the-top grand epic. For half a dozen episodes, Gurren Lagann approaches awesome. Now, none of the series ever made a lot of sense. We have mecha, all of ludicrous design and some of absurd size, that can transform in ridiculous ways. Thanks to the miracle of spiral energy, a byproduct of helical DNA, we need not concern ourselves with all those tiresome laws of physics or logic. It doesn't ask you to suspend your disbelief. You have to reject common sense entirely and accept the impossible. Spiral energy is like protoculture, but without a melody. The conclusion of the series makes the front end seem logical in comparison, taking us from 20-foot mecha to a pan-galactic scale. Gurren Lagann runs on pure adrenaline, and it hopes to keep us so pumped up we don't notice the absurdity of it all. That was why I thought the series sagged in the middle, because there were just too many Beastmen generals to wade through on the way to the Spiral King. If the energy level drops for only a moment, the structure comes crashing down. The big climatic battle spans 4 episodes and I thought was also too long. Too many heroic sacrifices, too many last words, too many incomprehensible exponential leaps in unreality. Long before they started tossing galaxies around like shurikens, I ran out of spiral energy. I give Gurren Lagann 3.5 stars. It's a bit odd and very uneven. It runs a bit too long for my taste, too. It has undeniable energy and contains several runs of superb heroic adventure along the way, some so good it makes putting up with the overindulgence of the rest worthwhile. I was surprised that I enjoyed it more the second time through. Still, at half the length, it would have been twice as good. As I said at the start, I have Bandai's sub-only US DVD release, 27 episodes on 6 DVDs in sets of 2. That comes with no extras on the DVDs except a textless opening and ending, but I'm good with that price point.
Getting down this giant pile of cinders is more like snowboarding than walking.